Hello. It is such an honor to be here talking with you today. I'm Leslie Pirritano, as Suzanne mentioned, your best friend at AMD. It's literally my title that if I hand you one of my business cards later, that's what it says. It's really a philosophy that I've carried with me through my almost 16 years in the game industry. It's a constant reminder of how I want to treat others as if they're my best friend, because everyone deserves to be treated with kindness. Now, I work with publishers, influencers, and gamers on a variety of levels. And no matter what the project, I always keep inclusivity in mind. And that could mean making sure to include women, LGBT, people of color, or any mix of diverse people. And with my company at AMD, I'm very passionate about making sure that everyone feels safe, happy, supported, and treated equally to others, whether it's in benefits or the meeting rooms or in the hallways or in all aspects of the work environment. Now, I carry this passion outside of the workplace as well. To the point, and this probably is going to sound really strange, but literally every day I ask myself, probably once or more, am I making the world a better place today? Whether it's for one person or many people, what am I doing to make the world a better place? Which I know it's kind of hokey, but that's me. Let me start by telling you who I am and what drives my passion. And then I'll give you a couple of examples of what I do. And hopefully you can draw some ideas from this to, see how you can make the world a better place, but on your own terms. So when I was a child, I was that kid that would say and do just random things that could surprise a room full of people. If my mom took her eyes off of me for a second, just a second, I was that kid that was in that baker's shop window where there's a beautiful wedding cake, and my mom would look over just in time as it's falling over because it looked awesome, right? And then I would disappear on her because I would explore and I'd want to meet new people. I wasn't shy. I had very few fears. I smiled and I laughed a lot, and I loved to hug. I loved people, all people. I loved life. And really all that I've described to you, I'm pretty much that same person today. But what my poor mom probably didn't anticipate, well, actually, let me step back. She probably cried a lot before even anticipating anything. And as she would put it, she tried very hard not to squash my spirit. And I'm sure that was a delicate balance. She tried to interfere as little as possible so that she could see what this strong-willed child that she had would become. And I am who I am probably because of that. So thanks, Mom. Now, what she didn't count on was me becoming something that in her days, society didn't approve of. She never anticipated that I would become a lesbian in my adult years. Well, I was before, but So being a lesbian isn't all that I am, it's just part of it. I'm still all those things that I described and a whole lot more. I'm a wife, a mom, an aunt, a gamer, a woman, a pool player, an animal lover. I'm all these things, all these labels that you can put on me. So just being a lesbian isn't one of them, but it's that, the experiences around that, as well as being a woman in the gaming industry, that have shaped my passion about diversity and inclusivity, both in the gaming world and outside of it. So when I was young, the L word was taboo, gay, homosexual was just stuff you didn't say. I'm a lot older than I hopefully look. Because it's all okay now, but when I was young, it wasn't. Those were words that you didn't speak or say, let alone be. And I tried very hard to be straight because of that, because I felt I knew that what society was telling me and the way that I was raised, that there was something wrong with me. And there was something, I was different and there was something wrong with me, and I had to try really hard to just be normal. I eventually married a man, and he was intelligent, like wicked intelligent. He was handsome, and he seemed very nice. And I really did care for him, but I constantly fought feelings that I was in the wrong place and just living as the wrong person. I wasn't living as me, but still I tried and I fought with all my strength to be straight. And then, of course, I failed. And during that time, when I sought help from my family, I was faced with a loneliness. The help that I was offered was counseling. Let's find out why you think you are the way that you are, and let's fix this. And at the same time, I tried to leave my ex-husband. And what happened there was that he was a black belt in ninjutsu, right? And he had a bunch of weapons at home. And then he became a drunk and threatened murder-suicide. And so I stepped back into my proverbial closet and stayed there for a while until I just couldn't stand it anymore. And, truth be told, I don't remember a lot of that time. I have friends who do for me, but I don't remember it. But there was one day that I just kind of woke up and I looked over at my ex-husband, and he was asleep, and he was sober, and I couldn't stand life the way it was. I wasn't really living. So that was the moment that I took to quietly pack my things into my car, just whatever I could, and I drove off to the beach, and I lived there for a few weeks, and then I couch surfed, and I started my life. So that was the beginning of me learning to love me and accept me for who I am, regardless of what anybody else thought. And I credit that experience with my ex-husband 30 years ago with my ability to just kind of let things roll off of me. I kind of needed that so that things could just roll off of me since then. And I had to get to that point where I just didn't give a pile of poo what people thought. And since then, this is back in the 90s, strangers would tell me, I'm going to hell, which I'm not, and I know that. They waved Bibles in my face, you're going to hell. They called me unrepeatable names. There was one time I recall I was driving and some young kids saw a flag, rainbow sticker on my car, and they chased me for a while with their windows rolled down, and they were yelling profanities and such. Probably the tamest was faggot, which, I'm not. That was kind of the wrong word to use, but whatever. Gave me a kick. They left. I've also, encountered guys who've insisted that they were manly enough to make me straight. None of this can happen. I remember one time being in a restaurant with my daughter, who was 5 years old at the time, and I was with a girlfriend my girlfriend at the time, and we're sitting in this restaurant, and my girlfriend's across from me, and my daughter is next to me, and there's people in a booth next to us, and we're just talking, and there's nothing controversial, there's nothing shocking, we're just having a regular conversation, but somehow at the table next to us, this woman got the idea that I was sitting next to my daughter, and the girl across from me was my girlfriend. So when they paid their bill, and this woman got up to leave, she literally came up to the end of our table and started yelling. And she said, with anger, she was like shaking with anger, you're going to hell for this. You're a poor child. You're a horrible mom. Homosexuals should not have children. And she just stayed there yelling at me. And I pulled my daughter close so that she would feel safe. And I just let this woman continue. And when she was done, I just looked at my daughter and said, some people are mean. And there's really nothing you can do about it. It's their problem, not ours. And as long as we're safe, we'll just let her be mean and then let her move on. And so then she moved on. She didn't get what she wanted, and we were fine because of it. Hopefully my daughter learned something, I think. So these are just some of the experiences that come to my mind. I mean, it's amazing what people think that they have the right to do or say when they are judging others who are different from them. But as I told my daughter, their judgment is based on their own issues, not ours. And that none of it bothers me because I just don't take on those issues. I don't take it personally, and I wish them well as they exit. But when I can help someone, I will. If I can help them with that issue, I will listen, and then I will. And a very close example to me is, I mentioned before my family had issues, and my grandmother was one of them. And me being a very spiritual person, this is what I tapped into to help my grandmother, who's also a spiritual person. And I recognize and respect that not all people are, but this is how I dealt with it. She had realized that all of her children and grandchildren had spouses and partners that she had conflicts with, like all of them. Turned out, after I came out, that there were a lot of queers in my family, as well as Asians and Jewish people and whatever. We just married all types. And so my grandmother struggled, and I sat her down one day because she just was really struggling, and I said, look, when you have hate in your heart, God's going to help you deal with it, and God is helping you deal with it right now. And so she did, and to the point where in 2008, when my wife and I got married, she and my grandfather attended, happily gave us wedding advice, and just, she was a very loving person. So I will help people when I can. So simultaneously with all of those experiences, I, of course, have a career that I've stumbled my way through. I had a series of jobs that I never planned to get. Doors would open, and I would think, that sounds fun, and I'd just walk in. And one of those doors brought me from the tech world into the video game industry, and so here I am today. And I remember, after being in the video game industry a few years, realizing that point where I knew I was a gamer. At the time, I didn't know any women who were gamers. We weren't very out in that respect either. And, and while, I was playing video games and stuff, I was also, for my job, producing videos that talked about PC technology in video games. And in 2005, I was working on a video game called Just Cause. And so I was doing some gameplay capture there, and some gameplay, and I was looking for shots that would kind of match up what I was trying to say in the video. And so then what I would do is after I played the game and found all those shots, then I'd call in the resident gamer, because I didn't think that was me, and have them play through, and I'd be like, go up the hill, shoot that person, run through that gate, blow that up, I'd tell them what to do. Well, for Just Cause, my friend, the resident gamer, didn't get it. He just couldn't get it done. And so I, said, here, let me show you, and I got behind the keyboard and mouse, and I ran through the game, and I, blew that up and shot those people and did whatever. And then I'm like, there you go. And I stepped away from the keyboard, but the video crew said, hey, that was perfect. We got it. We got exactly what you needed to get. And so it was at that point where I was like, oh, I'm a gamer, and I can do this. And so, from then on, the gameplay, most of it, in videos that I produced, was my own. So also around that time, in 2005, after realizing I was a gamer, I also started an employee resource group, and it was a pride group at the time. And I had gathered some people. I also did a lot of hallway conversations. I tend to treat executives like they're regular people, so if I see them in a hallway, I start telling them, what I think we need to do, how people are feeling, and then I always offer solutions, because I never just complain. I never say there's a problem without offering a solution, because then I'm complaining and not offering solutions. So I invited them to meetings and stuff, and started this pride group. And with that pride group, we did a variety of things aside from benefits and stuff. we also created a video. So I had learned of something called It Gets Better. So It Gets Better is a part of the Trevor Project. And the Trevor Project is one that supports LGBT youth for the prevention of LGBT youth suicides. And It Gets Better is giving them the message, it gets better, just hang on. Wait it out. And so we did this video for this organization that literally saves lives. And I'll show you an example shortly, a little bit later on. But that video was during what I affectionately call my short-haired dyke days. It was pretty clear. And the video wasn't popular, and the comments were as much vulgar vitriol as it was commentary from those who needed to hear it. But I don't regret it, because there were people who needed to hear it, and they heard that message. After that, I did some developer interviews, where I just would interview developers and then we'd produce it. But much of the commentary were from people who'd also seen the It Gets Better videos. So, it was commentary from people who knew I was a lesbian or would announce it in their comments or whatever. And, there were things about what people would like to do with me, that had nothing to do with the video, and it wasn't very tame language. And that concerned the company that I worked for, and so they decided to stop using women in videos at that time when it related to gaming, because people were just too cruel behind the keyboard, and they didn't want that responsibility. But even so, I wanted to continue being a face and doing videos and being a visible part of gaming, because how would anything change if I wasn't willing to do that? So this drove me to talk to other women in gaming, to share experiences and discuss how the general gamer male at the time would treat us. Things have gotten a lot better. But I spoke with women who left gaming because it was too toxic and cruel, which is understandable, because you can only take so much negativity until it starts bringing you down, right? And so they would quit the gaming community. I also have friends who experienced everything from kitchen commentary, like what are you doing on this video game, get into the kitchen, to doxing, to harassing to the point where people would show up physically and threaten them or threaten their partners. And so there's some very scary stories that I was hearing. And add to that, my own experiences. I have my own Me Too experience, which I won't go through for the sake of time, and also because it's all too common and of an occurrence. And I think we've all heard similar things before. But if you add those together, and then where I wanted to make lives better for women, and then you mix in stories from transgendered people, transgendered friends that I had, or Jewish and Muslim friends, depending on the time over the years. I mean, the list goes on, right? It's a culmination of all of these experiences that I've had, all of these experiences from people that I've met that have made me passionate in my commitments for inclusivity in the workplace and in the video game community and in life. And so that's why I'm passionate about inclusivity and diversity. It's who I am, who I was describing in the beginning, that's kind of shaped how I try to make change, which is always in kindness for other people, whether they're the unkind person or not. So my current employer is AMD, and AMD allowed me to continue to make positive change for others. In fact, when they were recruiting me in 2006, I received a call from our senior executive VP of marketing and HR. It was an unusual call, and it was one that I'd never had before from a prospective employer, and that was this VP on the other line saying, I know we're hiring you for a job with the Strategic Alliances team, but I also have a reputation and passion for supporting women in gaming, LGBT, and others. So come to AMD and make change. Come and help us change and help us grow as a company, which I thought was amazing, so I took her up on the offer. And one of the first things I did as an AMD employee was I met her for coffee. And at the coffee, she asked, how can we do better? What have you seen? And I said, we're doing pretty good. We have a lot of good benefits, but I'd like to see us score 100 on the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index. And that was something that AMD hadn't applied for before. And this HRC Equality Index, Corporate Equality Index, tracks employers, records their benefits, and the support that they have for their LGBT employees. And so I continued with, that I thought we'd do well, but the area that I thought we were lacking was with our transgendered employees. And, I told her, I don't know if we have any. I mean, maybe we do and maybe we don't. Maybe we do and they're too uncomfortable or too scared or nervous to let themselves be known in the work environment. And to be honest, I don't understand what they go through. Obviously I don't understand what it's like to be transgendered, but that doesn't matter, because what does matter is that I just want them to be happy. I know I want them to be happy. I know I want them to feel safe at AMD. I want them to feel like we have their back and that we support them. I want them to feel comfortable that they can safely use the bathrooms, or that they can realize the potential of who they are through medical benefits. And beyond that, I also felt that this was important so that AMDers in general, maybe they're LGBT or maybe they have family members, and they would then know with their family members and friends that they work for a good company, that their family could come visit them or maybe be a future employee, and we were a good company. And even beyond that, I told her that this is a good global message. In my previous job before AMD, I got an email from an employee in India. And it still like takes my heartstrings even now, where he's like, I'm gay and I'm so afraid because it's not legal here. And I could get put in jail and my family could get shunned. And it was just horrible. And, and I relayed this to this VP of HR. And so, what I told her is that if we are actively doing things to support our LGBT and any other employee, that we're telling them that no matter what the laws are in your country, it could be that consequences are imprisonment or death. But when you walk into our walls, we've got your back and we support you and you are safe here. And I felt that was incredibly important and powerful. And, it's the passion that I express myself for the people that I do not know, whose experiences I could not understand. It was because from my own experiences, I've never expected anybody else to understand me or what I've gone through. All I've ever expected was for friends and family to just want me to be happy, and that's it. That's all they need to understand. And so I don't expect to understand the differences of those who are different from me, and that's okay, because everybody walks their own path, and it's theirs to walk. It just means that, it may be difficult to empathize with people who are different from us, but if our desire is for them to be happy on their terms and not ours, and we offer kindness to them, whether it be by pushing through benefits or showing other support in the workplace, that's how we make a difference. And so it was within that 6 months of that conversation that I had with the VP of HR that AMD got a perfect score of 100 on the Corporate Equality Index. And that was largely in thanks to a resource group that had started there before I got there, shortly before I got there, the AMD Pride group, and also through the support of the executive leadership. So that happened incredibly fast, and I was super pleased. So since then, I've done a lot of panels for It Gets Better, for the It Gets Better campaign. I've done them at TwitchCon and PAX, and then I produced an It Gets Better video for AMD. And so if you want to cue just 2 minutes of the video. Coming out
was difficult.
I grew up in a very religious household, and I was terrified that my family was going to disown me and that I would not have the opportunity to share my life with them.
I felt that I wasn't normal. Everyone I knew around me was straight, and I just always felt like I was other.
As a kid, it was tough. Since I was a nerd, I was already experiencing a fairly high level of physical bullying. I was regularly having books ripped out of my hand. I was coming home beaten up and bloody. That was really hard.
My nephew is recently graduated from college, but for the last many years, through high school, even part of middle school, he struggled. He struggled because he was openly gay. He was ridiculed at school where people judged him very, very openly, including his family at home.
I've got a pastor in my family, and I was really unsure at that point in time. I didn't know where his church stood, where his feelings were, and I was really worried about getting cut off from part of my family.
I always knew that I was a little bit different. Always thought it was interesting to see all the other high school guys on the bus talking about girls, and I thought I was just the most polite gentleman ever to exist. Turned out, no, I was just super gay.
Well, I guess I've always known that I was gay, although I didn't have the words for it. When I was little, I remember getting mad that I wasn't able to marry my best friend. And so I realized if I had to marry a guy, I was never going to get married. I was never going to have kids. In junior high, I started realizing that, I think the word gay applies to me. Because my friends were feeling things and talking about things that I just wasn't.
Coming out was a weird process for me. And so I came out to myself probably like a month or two before I started coming out to my family. I'm really close to my mom and my sister, so as soon as I kind of was comfortable with it myself, I told them, and they both reacted pretty well. Especially my sister was essentially like, well, yeah, obviously, and I was really surprised that she felt that way because it took me so long to get to that point.
My mom was...
All right, so, there's obviously a variety of some funny and sad stories in there, and they all have a happy ending, so I invite you to just do a search for AMD It Gets Better, and you can watch the whole 11 minutes, including some bloopers and stuff. But that video was a huge success. I was extremely proud of that. And you'll notice in that video that a lot of you may have noticed, or you will when you see the whole thing, maybe not from that little snippet, but a lot of the people in there are not part of the LGBT community. They just wanted to participate so that they could show their own family and friends who are part of the LGBT community that they support them. And that's incredibly important thing to remember, is that you are important in making change for people who are part of different groups that you might not identify with or feel like you're a part of. But all you need is the desire for them to be happy and participate in that way. So I've done other videos with AMD, things like building PCs. So I build PCs, and I'm not, for up there, we had technical difficulties, so I'm talking to somebody up there, but I'm not gonna run the next video. You can go to that slide. It's just me building a PC, and you're welcome to go and look at it online. Just search my name, and it'll pop right up. And then I've also done things like here is with a developer where I went to their studio and built a PC live in front of an audience, and that went over really well because I'm not afraid to make mistakes when I build PCs, and I'm just me, and it's not rehearsed kind of thing. So that was an incredible thing. So I build PCs on a regular basis. I do panels on building PCs that I invite other diverse people of whatever group to join. I do those at PAX, how to build your own streaming PC, how to build your own gaming rig, and stuff like that. I've even built live in these panels, and companies have provided hardware for us to build live or give away parts and stuff like that. So I go out and I try to put out the message that anybody can build a PC, and I try to put different faces out in front of the gaming and the technology industries. There's a variety of other things that I do, like STEM talks in the classroom. helping kids kind of aspire to be a part of the gaming community. And even if they don't, just knowing that I'm encouraging them to go to school and finish school and think about college and stuff like that. I stream on my own channel and a Twitch channel, and it's all for Donors Choose, which supports underprivileged kids. I hug everyone I meet. If anybody wants, and I'm just kind of going through a list just to kind of give ideas here. If anybody would like to do something for somebody else, I have something for you, which is, I give away McDonald's gift cards when I see somebody who's hungry, because that's just an easy thing to do. You want to give that to somebody you see? Oh, it'll be there when I'm done talking. So feel free to, I've got 10 of them if you want to collect them. And then my one tip for you, like I've gone through a list of things that I do, but my one tip for you is to just be your authentic self when you go out and try to make change. So, don't make change how and the way I do, because I do it because I'm me, but do it the way you do, because your authentic self, when you're that's what attracts other people around you, and that's what gets people to circle around you, and that's what helps you kind of pass that chain on of making change. So with that, I'd like to say change doesn't just begin with me, change begins with you, and I hope you find your own path to do that. And I would also like to thank, before coming here, I run into Lisa Loeb, who some of you may know from doing the song called Stay. It's a song that I enjoy, and I see her around, and she's a very kind person, and I saw her play something that hasn't come out yet, and I said, oh, that would be so perfect for a talk I'm giving, be your authentic self, go out and make change. The song is called Shine, and she actually provided it for us to listen to on my grand exit, and for you to think about and also see ways to change. So if you can proceed until the song comes on. Like next slide.
1, 2, 3.
Enjoy it. Thank you.
All the small things that happen today could be the big things that get in your way. But don't lose the spark in your eyes. Keep your heart open wide. Go be a star. Love who you are. Once you know you have everything, then you'll have everything that you need inside to shine, to shine. There are flowers that bloom in the snow. There are places that nobody knows. So just drown out the crowd. Just be brave and be proud. Go be a star. Love who you are. Once you know you have everything,